Well, it's hard. It's emotional. I mean, there was such passion in the people who were helping us. I just felt, you know, we've really let them down.
You know, it was that crushing disappointment. Not for us. Our lives are going to be fine. It's for the country.
We were on a roller coaster, exciting and thrilling, ups and downs, but the ride ends, and then you get off. And it's not like, oh, can't we be on a roller coaster the rest of our life? It's like, no, that ride's over.
I'm mostly over it, but not completely. You have moments where you go back and feel the sorrow of the loss.
I wish I were there. It kills me not to be there, not to be in the White House doing what needs to be done.
You know, a couple of things. First off, when they asked Ann Romney who she blamed, take a guess. The media. You know, it was the media's fault. But I also saw some of the email correspondence between Papa Bush and W. And some of his private correspondence. He said when Al Gore finally conceded the election.
The second time.
He said, yes, the second time, thank you. He said, I went from having complete, and I'm going to butcher it, he didn't say, but this stays for the man in anger, to just feeling so sorry for him because he'd been there before himself, he said, and he knows how much you invest. And I got to think, and I'll start with you, Jess, you've been with candidates, especially ones who think they can win, right? Not the ones who know it's a long shot, okay? And we know some of the guys, right? But ones who either the polls told them they were up at one point or had a fighting chance, and then the last couple of weeks are like, you don't look good. And as much as you might want to tell them and kind of cushion the blow, come election night, they can't let it go the next week, the next month, maybe the next year after, right?
Well, it's extremely difficult because, it is for consultants and staff as well, because you're in, and Ned, you know this, like you're in this intense fight of your life. It's all consuming. It's you eat, breathe, sleep, like everything you do is surrounded by the campaign, especially in the end. And then you wake up the next day and, you know, aside from your condolence calls, no one needs anything from you. And it's a very weird thing. And I think even when you win, it's sort of a funny thing to go through. And I talked to other consultants about this. Some of them just take off for vacation right away to just disconnect because it's a weird transition back into normal life with the rest of the people that actually have lives outside of politics. And it's a tough thing, and you really have to, you know, feel for it because they
just can't let it go, right?
You have to, no matter what your positions are, you have to really put everything into it, and if you do that, it's.
Who do you think it's harder for, Dominic? The candidate or the spouse?
Definitely the spouse. It's the hardest for the spouse to begin with because they're not the politician. And that's why you hire people like Jessica. And what Jessica's not going to tell you is that they spend hours with the spouse in private to get them up to speed. You got to answer this way. You don't like journalist Dominic? You can't show that. You got to be nice to Dominic. He'll kill us if you won't. You know, if you don't like Richard, don't show it. It's hard for the spouse. They become the candidate. And then the day after the election, the media is brutal. All we call 10 times a day, no more phone calls. Not one. Nothing. We're with the winner, and the loser is history. You know, I've been, Richard, I've been through a bunch of them with Rudy Giuliani and David Dinkins. I remember the first time Rudy lost. Rudy was smart. He started running for mayor after he lost by, I think, 50,000 votes. He started running for mayor the next day. And then I remember when Dinkins lost. I guess they thought I was going to take it hard. They said in my ear, they said, Dominic, we're about to call the election. Get yourself together. We're coming to you. Dinkins just lost. You know, I can go on and on and on. But it's the spouse. I've seen when the spouses cry. One person that I will say that never got over losing the mayor's race because he thought he was there, Fernando Ferrer. Never got over it. And he'll never forgive Mark Green for the Democratic primary.
And Ned, and you had an interesting thing where you won in the initial primary and then in the general you lost. But the highs and the lows. And do you always second guess what you could have done better?
No, you turn the page and go on.
You
That's just what he said
Jessica,
the other
by the way,
day.
to be a politician.
But you are going 120 miles an hour like these guys said, and then it stops. And you wake up and you say, where do I go? I had a little office. I was working, so I went back there. The guys were all ready to sublet it out. They said, what are you doing back here? But at least I had a place to go. And you're absolutely right, because you, as a candidate, are going nonstop. You don't know a lot of the background. Your wife hears all that stuff, and it really, those slings and arrows hurt. and it really hits them hard.
And they
you
can't.
know,
And they
politics
can't
is
spout
binary.
off either. They got to bite their tongue.
They got to bite it.
Yeah.
But politics is so binary. You win. I mean, business is. I kind of like it. I lost that contract, but I win another one. You know, and you live to fight another
Not
day.
Do you
hard
still
and
think about it?
fast.
Do you still think about the 2006 Senate race, or do you still think about?
You know, you think about it, but a little like what you heard from Romney. You're sitting there in your cable TV office, putting up satellite dishes, wondering, God, I wish I was up there in Hartford making a difference. And instead, I'm sitting here doing what I'm doing, and a little bit of your heart goes out with it.
Hey, Richard, and remember, it's the wife through instinct that can notice it, that can notice your enemies before you see them. The wife can see them lurking in the winds. Seriously. And the wife will call, and the kids, like just when the kids campaign. So like you have public advocate Bill de Blasio running now. So his son with the big afro and the daughter, they're going to campaign hard for him. If he doesn't win, and he's not going to win, it's going to be very hard on the kids.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah.
No wonder Ann Romney blamed the media.
And on that note, when we come back, we will transition from politics and we will turn to Rome, where they're going to have their own election here. Cardinals from around the globe preparing to pick the next pontiff. We're going to have what the Cardinals might be discussing behind closed doors, and maybe, just maybe, could the Vatican be ready for its first American pope? We'll talk about that as well.